Club Radio. Club Radio.
Check it out.
Drop it.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to Victory for Today. This is Donald and Yvonne Taylor, and we'll be talking about the new year and setting new priorities and doing some new things.
Hi, Donald.
Oh, how you doing, Yvonne?
I'm fine, thank you.
You're smiling. Yeah, okay. Did I forget something? What?
No, it's all good. I'm just, as always, really happy to be sharing with our listeners and looking forward to the new year and really looking forward to talking about goal setting and the new year coming up and sharing a little. Yes.
Okay. Miss Georgia, are you part of us today?
Oh, I'm always a part of you guys. I'm always a part of the dream team. I love this team. Happy New Year, everybody.
Okay. Well, you're nice and cheery.
It's the New Year. I'm excited. I'm so excited. If this show is airing, that means it's probably my birthday.
When is your birthday?
January 10th.
Happy birthday. Now, let me see. What year was you born? Okay.
I was born in the 19s and not the 2000s. We can say that out loud.
I hear you.
You're not like someone we know whose birthday keep going backwards instead of going forward.
I will have one of those at a certain point.
Just not yet.
Not yet. I'm close. I'm just leaving the youth department at church, I guess, now. I'm finally, they usually have the 18 to 35?
Yeah, well, I heard they put have your pictures by the door and say no longer you.
Yeah, that's me. I don't qualify. I am officially 35 today. Well, yeah, this will be the 10th, so yeah, I'm officially 35.
Yeah, praise God.
Yay! I'm finally a grown up. I get good car insurance, old enough to have a couple bags, stretch marks, and a couple wrinkles, and some gray hair.
30 is a good age, but you're still young, but
Yeah.
you know a little bit.
You know something now.
You know something, so
Yeah.
you're not foolish.
Yeah.
You know, then all of a sudden you get 50, and all of a sudden 50, you're old, but you get foolish.
So I still got a couple years to make a couple good decisions.
Good.
That's the hope.
Well, I'm glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
And you've been our guest for the last two shows, so I'll have to start charging you, or you'll charge me or
Man, I'm getting charged now? Oh my gosh. I guess I should keep quiet.
something. Yes. Okay, so what's our subject today? Our topic?
Well, our topic, we're going to talk about 2016. We're talking about goals. We're really talking about resetting. Just reset the dial for another year. But before we do that, let's have a power scripture to help just kind of set our minds in.
Okay.
And I'm going to be reading from Isaiah, the 43rd chapter, the 18th and 19th verse. And it reads as, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am now doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the desert and streams in the wasteland." Amen.
I received that.
I think that's this scripture I love because it tells us that we're no longer bound by what we have done in the past. God has viewed us anew, and we need to believe that, embrace it, and move forward with it. So a lot of times people will start the new year with old habits. One thing I want our listeners to do is think of all the bad habits you have around a piece of paper. Then take a piece of paper and take it outside and you burn it. And then commit yourself for this new year to start with your new positive behaviors.
I have a roll of butcher paper. So I might have to wait and put it in the
You don't have a whole
bonfire.
roll, do you?
I don't know.
I don't want you to start a forest fire.
You can ask Michael. He'll tell you if it's a whole roll.
No, but I think every one of us have 2 or 3 habits that's bad.
Yeah.
You know, and God will work with us, but a lot of times we fear we won't take it to God because we say, well, God, will understand. He'll adjust. Because God already knows what we're doing, and He loves us in the midst of where we're doing, and He's always giving us a chance to get renewed, to move forward. Your mother may only forgive you so far. Your husband may only give you so much. Your girlfriend only forgive you so much. But God, there's no limit to what His forgiveness is. But the only thing we have to do, maybe as a new year, is to confess up and say, okay, I want to move past this and be a new person.
I agree. I think I have to jump in and say, well, for myself, I guess since we're talking about it, I think putting self-care last is something that I have to work on this year.
Okay.
I think that has, and to some degree, when you're working on goals and when you're working on tackling projects and milestones, that you have to put a lot of things to the side in order to get there. But there are some things that you should make not just milestones, but things that are part of your day that you should never waver from when you make those commitments. So if I make a commitment to eat every day and I make a commitment to sleep every day or to have good hygiene every day, then I need to make a commitment to either make sure that those meals I'm eating are healthy, or making sure that I'm getting time to exercise, or whatever it is, that those other things need to be a part of that daily regimen, and I shouldn't waver from them. They need to be essential.
But a lot of times people are self-defeated. They'll develop goals that they know they cannot achieve. They'll say something, I want to lose 50 pounds next month. Okay.
Well, you have enough money for light bulbs, sure.
I want to go back to my master's and do it within a year. Okay.
I don't know that either.
But you need to be realistic and develop long and short-term goals. Because one thing when I work with clients and I tell them that we always get blinded by the large goal, but the large goal trip us up. Mm-hmm. What we need to do is be establishing short-term goals that will lead to a long goal. Being that, I'll try to lose a pound every 2 weeks. Then if I'm successful, I'll be over 20 pounds by the end of the year.
Very true.
But that's realistic. Take small steps so that you be successful instead of taking large steps and never achieving your goal.
I agree. And I have to say your advice is sound, because I spent, you helped me set goals and helped Mike and I set goals last year for 6-month goals. We started with some 6-month goals, and we did a great job achieving most of those goals and learning how not to beat ourselves up when we didn't hit certain goals. Sometimes we got focused on the ones we weren't hitting, and which became a setback in and of itself, because you forget to celebrate what you're doing right. Mm-hmm. But once we put our eyes on what the achievements had been and used it as momentum, we were able to get through the other things. Yeah.
Okay. Yvonne?
Well, I was thinking, I think it's just interesting that as human beings we have this nature that at the end of the year, and we're talking about a new year, and we want a do-over. To me, that's what New Year's is. It's a do-over. And I love the fact that the scripture says, don't dwell on the past.
Right.
Because to me, that's like God saying, hey, you get a do-over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, don't dwell on what's back there. And, I think some things that people can do is to just begin to, purge some stuff. Mm-hmm. We've got to let go of some stuff before we can take in the newness that life is offering us. And, that might be some habits that we purge, and it might be some just things. A lot of us like stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I don't happen to be one. I can't stand clutter. But we all have way, way, way more things than what we ever need to live. And until we learn, I think there's something about purging stuff that has a psychological effect on you, where you then become more willing to give up things that aren't just things, but their habits, their thoughts, their, those kind of things. And then it's easier to take your do-over and do something different with it.
I think what happens a lot of times are that the things define who we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and we need to move past that self-definition based upon what I have, what I don't have, what I have done in the past. No, God sees you as a baby child, and you're fresh. That the only enemy that we have is the adversary who will tell us that we're never good enough. The adversary bringing things up that is long buried, God has long forgiven you about and offer you grace. But the adversary will bring it up and will tell you who you're trying to fool. Well, don't buy into that. We need to, like I said, purge that out of our systems. Burn that on the on the paper and start anew in a new year. And we do this by doing 4 things. Read the Bible daily. Meet together with other people who are positive. If you're around negative people, they'll bring you down. No matter what you do, they'll bring you down. No, it's not going to work.
Yeah, purge some people.
Yeah, get rid of them. Sometimes that's the first thing we need to do. Purge those. Get involved with something where you help other people.
Yeah.
If you're going down a food pantry, if you're collecting clothes for the needy, do something that's going to show compassion and grace to others. Pray for others. It's interesting. When you start praying for others, good things happen not only in their lives, but good things happen in your life.
Yeah.
So if we do that daily routine, what happens, we will change our whole manner of who we are and our own spiritual orientation from negative to positive. What's your thought?
Well, a couple of things. One of the things you said was the adversary tells us so many negative things. I think our other enemy is our habits.
Yeah.
We do so many things out of habits that we're not aware of that we do. We just do it. And I had a friend a number of years ago, a coworker named Kim, that gave me a book. And the name of the book was called The Gift of Presence. And it wasn't presents such as what you receive at Christmas time, but it was the gift of living in the present, being aware of your ongoing daily situation and focusing on here and now. And I think a lot of times we're lost in the past, which is maybe why the scripture says don't dwell on the past, or we're so far in the future that it's a daydream rather than a goal that we're working on. But if we really concentrate on today and get up in the morning and say, this is the day that the Lord has made, I will rejoice in it and be glad, and ask God, to direct us and guide us that day and order our path. And then be aware of, when you talk to people, look at them, listen to them, be aware of the gift of time that they're giving you. Be aware of how you spend your time and what you do with your time. I'm one that looks at too much TV. And I think sometimes, if we really look at how we spend our time and then ask the question, if I spend my time this way, does this propel me towards a goal that I'm working for? And if the answer is no, then really question, then why are we spending our time that way rather than doing something that adds value to our life? We kind of let life happen. So, I think part of that is just living in the present and being aware of the present. The other thing I liked that you said was about spending time with positive people. And that was something that I had kind of jotted down about spending more time with people who add value to your life. And so some of those habits could be just hanging out with people because you've always done that. But at some point, people change, circumstances change, goals are different. And I think you really have to reevaluate your relationships with people. And some you'll keep, some you'll wish them well, and some maybe you'll just cut down some of the time you spend with them.
One thing I tell people is very important, that you can always make more money, but you cannot make more time.
Well, that is true.
And when your time is up, you'll ask yourself, was I a good steward of my time? If not, a lot of things that God may want you to achieve cannot be achieved because you have wasted time. And so you need to ask yourself, every instance, every commitment you make, every obligation of time that you may have, you need to go down that list and say, does it benefit my long-term goal? Does it benefit the reason why God created me? Each of us should have a manner which we wrap around ourselves that represent what is our life goals. My life goal is to cause no harm and to be a transforming agent. When I look at things that I do, I always ask myself, am I living into that manner? Am I achieving that?
Yeah.
If not, why? And do I need to achieve it? Because we'll always have more things on our making demands on our time than time we have to achieve it. So we have to be very strategic in our time. And we got to put time for ourselves, self-care. We got to put time for our family, those people that we love. We got to put time for our spiritual development. And we got to spend time growing others. You know, I use a circle that when we first born, somebody take care of us. Then in our 20s, we start taking care of ourselves. Then in our 40s and 30s, we take care of someone else. And then the circle goes around in our 70s and 80s, somebody take care of us. So it's a give and take. So if you're not giving and taking in your life, you're missing the reason why you're created and missing the purpose God had you here.
You know, one of the other things I think is important as you go into the new year is to forgive and let go. And so often we kid ourselves and we say that things that have happened to us or people who have wronged us, we've forgiven them. But we really harbor some of that, that anger, that hurt, that disappointment, however we want to identify what those feelings are. And as we move forward, that's part of that letting go of the past. We have to forgive people. We have to forgive mistakes. We have to forgive ourselves and then move into the new year. But you can't take all of those negative, harmful feelings into the new year and expect to have a beautiful life unfold for you. No. Because you're still harboring those negative things inside of you. So, you know, I would encourage all the listeners that are out there to really examine their own selves and their feelings about other people and things that have happened in the past. And if they haven't forgiven themselves, give yourself permission to first forgive you as God forgave you, and then forgive others. Let it go and move on.
Often, grace is the hardest thing for us to take.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing for us to give. And to really grow in your spirituality, grace should flow from us as a stream flows. Because, you know, everything that we take to heart, take a little bit of our love away. You ever think about that? That every personal issue we have or every personal attack, it takes a little bit of our ability to love. That we hold so long, we're unable to love. And the only way to get around that is to just forgive people, even though they may not deserve it. You know, some people don't deserve forgiveness, but you still give them. And because you realize that as Christ forgave us, we are called to forgive others. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to do, but if we don't do it, you really can't fulfill that great love God has for us.
And, you know, a few months ago, we did a series with Dr. Linda Whittington on forgiveness, and I would encourage people to go back and listen to that 3-part series, because even while we're saying forgive, even if people don't deserve it, she so explained how forgiveness is really for us. More so than the other person. And if we want to be whole and healthy people moving into the new year, then we really should listen to those segments and really take to heart the information that she shared with us in terms of how forgiveness affects us and how unforgiveness affects us in a negative manner, both psychologically and physiologically. And so, yeah, I would just encourage people to go back and catch that series if they missed it.
What I'd like to do, have our audience first to ask themselves, is there parts of their lives they are harping on, that's drawing them back, that they have not forgiven themselves about? To do that first, to forgive yourself, to know that you are worthy of forgiveness, and that nothing you can do cannot be forgiven by God. You know,
Yes.
you are God's child. He loves you, and He don't have any orphans. We all are adopted to Him.
Yeah.
And then try to think of 2 or 3 people. They may be alive, might be in the ground, that might have done things to you that you harbor, and then write them a note and tell them that note that you forgive them and that you still love them. And that's a crazy little thing. Writing a little note might sound silly, but when you write that note, you can feel yourself being changed. You know, and if we start that as beginning of the new year to change ourselves, then we can start changing the world.
And I think that's why legalism is still so attractive. A lot of people say, well, why do people follow all this organized religion or have all these rules and ceremonies? And, why do people still follow that when we live in a society that really promotes you having the opportunity to do your own thing and just be whatever you want to be? And I think legalism is still so attractive because it tells me that I can do this list of things and then it'll be fine. That I never really have to have relationship. I really don't have to have to confront. I just need to do these things and it goes away. And I think, by talking about grace, and a lot of people would say, well, that's a cop-out, that's weakness. It's actually strength. It's strength to be able to say, I'm going to forgive you or extend this hand of love or love to you that was extended to me, not because you necessarily deserve it, but because I received what I didn't deserve either. So I'm going to give the same thing to you and mean it.
I think what happened, people get hung up with the Old Testament, or they get hung up with Paul, and they skip over the gospel.
Yeah.
Because the gospel is all about forgiveness. It's all about grace. It's all about Christ going to the cross, not because we are worthy to die for, because we're unworthy to die for, but He's willing, through His act of personal sacrifice, deliver us.
Absolutely.
And we forget that, and we think somehow that because if we go to church or we do a couple of the good things, then all of a sudden, well, we're worthy. No, we're all unworthy.
Right.
We all are unworthy. But it's only through that love of God that we come in relationship with Him.
Yeah.
And I think legalism allow us to put on a false armor that said we're worthy. Where Christ sacrificed that He made, we was worthy for it.
Right.
No, we're unworthy for any sacrifice that was given for us.
I agree.
And so if that's our foundation, believe in our unworthiness, then we can understand the importance of loving someone else and forgiving someone else.
Right. And it takes away all that pretense as well.
Yeah.
Because if I realize that I wasn't worthy to begin with and you gave it to me, then I'm okay. I can go on being myself and that's okay. So, but even with that being said, it challenges us to be better because we were given something we didn't deserve. And so it makes us want to be better. It's like doing something nice for a spouse or a friend or somebody who just was so mean to you. You do something nice for them and they turn around and they want to be better, or they'll pay it forward or give it to somebody else. And that's powerful.
Well, one thing I realized too, that the reason why most marriages end are because of the fact that one spouse will not forgive the other spouse.
Yeah.
And they hold that, and it creates a barrier, and that now a barrier, love is withdrawn and hate fills the void. So I think one thing about Yvonne and I, that when we have disagreements, when we have disagreements,
We're people, so I guess at some point you should.
I always said we always try to forgive each other, because in looking back at it, you realize that nothing was that important. Because I've seen people, marriages end because of a dollar or of a small decision that doesn't have any consequences in their lives. So if they just make the statement that there's nothing more important than another person, then that other person is given me by God, then I had to forgive them. I have to love them because they did not go out to hurt me. It was just a misunderstanding.
Wow.
I think not just with marriage, but one could apply that to family because there are so many families where people are at odds with family members, sisters or brothers or moms or cousins, that type of thing. And so often, at the end of the day, a lot of times all we have is family.
Right.
And then there'll be some people who'll say, well, maybe for you, but not for me. But we started out in a family. That's how God decided to bring all of us into existence. We were born in some type of family. And it could just be me and mom, single mom, but that's the family. And I think that people need to realize there's a reason for that. And the family is the first unit that loves you, supports you, takes care of you. But by the same token, those are also going to be the same people who hurt you
And get on your nerves.
and do some other things because you spend so much time with them. But that's the unit that God's taught you, given you to teach you how to forgive and how to love so that you can go out in the world later and forgive other people and love other people. And so it's the same thing there, not just with marriage, but also with family. And people need to begin to reconcile their self back with their sisters, their brothers, their cousins, and get over some things that aren't important. And sometimes we just have this thing where we just can't seem to want to do it, or we're waiting on the other person. But again, to move forward and to move freely into 2016 is something that we really have to do.
I know you all are getting ready to end this show soon, but I'm making a very special request. Can you all do an entire month-long series on relationships in February?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Could you?
We'll use our relationship after 25 years.
I think that you all could do a great, series. Teach on family or love and relationships, all of February or something. Do that for our listeners, please. I think that there's so much information you could share. Please.
I'd love to do it.
I'm your boss. Do it.
You're a boss and don't pay us.
I know. But that would be awesome. I mean, 25 years of marriage. I think there's something that you got to be able to share something.
Well, there's a lot of life lessons in that.
Oh my God! Thank
I
you.
agree with you.
One thing we have to realize too is that conflict and disorder is a breeding ground for adversary. Satan will get in there, and his goal is to break up families. His goal is to break up marriages. His goal is to separate people. And we got to realize that a lot of times when we keep things going, we're doing the work of the adversary. Because the work of God is to bring us together.
Absolutely.
And if we get that.
Well, on that note.
On that note, we have to say good evening. It's been a very nice discussion, and I look forward to doing our event in our study during the month of February about relationships.
Yeah.
And also, we're in the process now of developing a Bible study, and we should be airing that after the first of the year.
Yes.
I look forward to that. And I hope you continue to listen to us, and please, if you have any questions or comments, long say positive. Give us grace. Send it to us. Thank you. May God bless you.
Bye, all.